All right, so joining us now is Thomas Morgan in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Thomas has been an investor for a number of years. He does a lot of wholesaling, and I'm going to let Thomas fill us in. Tell us a little bit of your background. What did you do before you got in real estate investing, and how did you get started?
I actually used to own a rickshaw company down in Florida.
Like the bicycle rickshaws? Yeah.
Like hauling people around. I welded them. I rented them out. I did all kinds of stuff. And every night I'd get home. It's a hilarious story to me. I'd get home, and the only thing on TV was Girls Gone Wild and real estate infomercials. They were selling the dream. So I ended up looking up a local RIA. My brother talked about going to it and started going to some of their classes and volunteering because I couldn't afford some of the classes. It's just trailed out.
So did you order one of the programs off TV, or how did you get started with it?
No, I just ignored that. I ended up joining a local RIA. I wanted to meet people that are actually doing it. And I met up with a couple people like Augie Bylot, Todd Hutchinson out of Orlando. They kind of took me under their wing for some of the stuff. And
nice.
Other stuff, we ended up looking at smaller apartment complexes up here and ended up moving up here.
Now, how long ago was that when you actually got started in real estate?
About 7 years ago.
7 years. And what primarily do you do, Thomas? Do you do mostly wholesaling? Do you do a little mix of things, or? I
do a mix of things, mostly wholesaling. I got a bunch of rentals. I'll wrap notes and create them if I can. Yeah.
So what's kind of your strategy towards tell us about like your first deal? How did you get started? You know, because a lot of people want to know, hey, how do I get started in this business? Where do I, there's 1,500 directions to go in. What do I do? What kind of marketing do I do? What do I do? Can you kind of walk us through a little bit, like, how'd you get going on your first deal and how did that come about?
Really, my first deal, it was just driving dollars. It was right around the house that we first bought up in Tennessee. Well, I'll take that back. We did 3 deals. One off Craigslist I found, we ended up buying subject to as a rental. We found another house subject to move into. And really my first wholesale deal was a little lease option.
Wow.
Ended up just assigning. I'd consider that really my first deal.
And what did you make on that? You assigned it for?
I think it was like $1,500. It was nothing. But at the time, that was huge to me.
At the time, yeah. It's a first deal. It's like, score. Nice. So where'd you go from there then? How'd you get your business going then from there? Did you just keep driving for dollars? Do you do marketing?
Did a lot of bandit signs for years. Kind of got hemmed up with code enforcement on that.
What happened?
Oh, I got dragged into court twice. It got ugly. They had a student video playing above the judge.
Oh, God.
It was bad.
Didn't learn the first time I had to go back again.
Oh,
right?
No. The second time they made me sign a summons saying that if I did it again in 6 months, basically like probation, if I did it for 6 months, they'd hit me with like 185 court costs and for each individual sign.
Did you at one point just want to stand up and go, "It's a freaking plastic sign, people"?
Oh, they were serious. They chased us. We were doing 100 a week for a couple of years before they caught up to us, and they were mad. Like, they were real mad.
You should have got back at them, and you should have ran for political office and put, elect Thomas Morgan and I buy houses.
Yeah, right. That's the.
So I take it you don't do bandit signs much anymore?
Not so much. I do a lot of direct mail now. I find deals on Craigslist. I don't know how I snatch them up. Sometimes I pick them up. Do a lot of advertising on Craigslist to sell property and find buyers, so it works out.
So what kind of direct mail are you doing? Are you buying lists? You creating your own list, or?
I use a data service that's local here. That's what the MLS is based off of, and I can pull lists out of that just for my market. But I run Freedom Soft also. I can pull some lists out of there. They're not great,
right?
Depending on what it is.
So tell us a little bit about. Are you right in Chattanooga, or are you outside of it, or tell us a little
I
bit
live
about.
directly in Chattanooga.
So tell us a little bit about your market there. What size city is it? What are the deals like there? What do you find?
Just depends what you're doing. It was a couple of years ago. It was called an emerging market. It never had a big spike, so it never had a big decline like everywhere else in the country. The city brought in a bunch of jobs, started bringing in thousands of jobs between Volkswagen, Amazon, and a lot of things. So they started creating all these pilots, incentives for taxes, just to spur the job and diversify the economy.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we originally chose to do it. And we were if you know about real estate, it goes kind of in a bell curve. We were at the bottom of the bell curve. Right now it's shooting up. I don't know how long it's going to cuss, but for the past couple of years, California investors, all kinds of people have dumped tons of money in Chattanooga just because you can buy inner city houses cheap.
Mm-hmm. Like how cheap?
$15,000, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 turnkey stuff. Higher end homes, you can get it. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff in Chattanooga. Everything from war zones to high end classes. New construction's pretty big right now. There's a lot of land developments going on just because it's growing.
Yeah.
Kind of geographically centered between mountain ranges, so it only has so much room to grow, except commuting outward.
Yeah. So what's your population there?
About 500,000 in the county.
So it's not a real huge city, but big enough to make a difference.
Yeah. It's the third largest city in Tennessee right now.
Wow.
So it's probably a second or third tier market, but it's been decent to me. I can go to LA, I can go to Atlanta, but I'm going to have to compete with thousands.
Mm-hmm.
You can wholesale anything in your own backyard. Why do I got to move?
Right.
Before, Florida was in a crashed economy. I moved up here. There was nothing going on in Florida.
Yeah.
So at least up here, I can get more bang for my buck on rentals and acquire more properties and get better cash flow.
Yeah, I've lived around the country myself now. I mean, it's a huge difference. You're in some place like Florida, and you like come to Tennessee.
Yeah.
I was in Phoenix for many years, and then I lived over in San Diego for a little bit, which was kind of a price shock going to California, and now I'm in Tulsa, which is like you can pick up houses for $5-10 grand, and it's like amazing. It's like way different. People out in California would be talking about, oh, I got this smoking deal on a house. I got it for only $350,000. I was like, gee, I could buy 20 houses in Tulsa.
Yeah.
A lot of difference.
I mean, there's higher end markets in Chattanooga.
Sure.
350. I've seen one the other day, foreclosure listed at 650. But they're executive level homes.
Oh, sure, like most cities, yeah.
Numbers wise, they don't make sense.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell us a little bit, because a lot of people watching this are, they're looking for getting started in their business, and they're kind of looking for kind of the inspiration of, what to do, how do I go about this? Just give us a little bit of kind of what's your typical day like, a working day.
Well, for the most part, my days are almost really reactionary. I'm a solopreneur, I guess they call it.
Right.
I do outsource some stuff, but it all comes back on me. This morning, I woke up, ran earnest money checks to the bank, to the title company, pulling a list and sending it through click to mail, interviewing a new handyman for my rentals. I got an appointment after you to talk to this Russian investor that he's local now. Yeah. He's got access to funds and wants to buy some apartment complexes.
Nice.
He has a language barrier gap and he's kind of brash. So he wants me to go and negotiate deals for him. My day is very reactionary, just what's going on. Right. My deal life, I've kind of dropped everything in the past 2 weeks to get focused on this one big deal I've been working on.
Yeah, so I was going to ask that. So tell us a little bit. We're on the same Facebook group, and I see you posting up different checks and that you're doing for wholesaling, which are, you've kind of graduated to some good fees, because typically people think of wholesaling, it's like, oh, I make maybe 3 or 5 grand. You've been posting up some pretty decent checks. Tell us a little bit about some of the recent deals you've done, and you mentioned earlier you've got a deal going on that's pretty big.
Well, the two that you saw in that one day, one was it was an estate. It was kind of, most investors wouldn't have touched it because they really didn't have clean title. It was a trust from like the 1960s. They didn't have the trust documents. Everybody on that trust had died, but it was still in the family, and it was 4 heirs trying to sell it.
Right.
They couldn't get clean title. One of my good friends and partners, he ended up buying it from me about 25 cents on the dollar.
Mm-hmm.
He's just going to do a suit to quiet title. He'll own the property for completely. You get a guy in town that'll give you title insurance afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of financed a bit to him for some down.
Uh-huh.
That was like $10,000 check, I think it was. Another one I picked up, one was closer to 12. I think it was like 11.8 something.
Uh-huh.
That was actually a house I got for $1.
Really?
Clean title. I put it out at 15. I had it locked up under contract at 12. And the guy backed out, and one of my other partners, a guy named Brian, he ended up buying it. Or he called me right after I locked it up. He was like, I wanted that thing so bad. And I'm pretty loyal to this guy because he's done some lending. I want to do business with him in the future. I'm like, Brian, he was going to buy it at 15. I'm like, Brian, I'll just give it to you at 12. I don't even care. He's like, you're so nonchalant about this deal. He's like, what do you got it at? I'm like, you don't even want to know. Just close it out. There's a deal. He's buying it and owner financing it out at a high interest rate, basically double the cost of what I sold it to him for.
Right. Wow.
So he's making huge money on the table.
Yeah.
So
that's what they mean by like a win-win deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And most of my investors come back to me because I leave a lot of meat on the bone.
Yeah.
But it all comes down to what you can negotiate.
Yeah.
What kind of terms.
Yeah, that's an important thing too. You know, you build a relationship with your cash buyers or your money investors, whatever it may be, and you know, you don't get too greedy, and you know, share. Let other people got to make money too. I've seen a lot of wholesalers where I've looked at buying properties. I mean, they just try to max it out and milk it for everything it's got. There's nothing left.
Yeah.
You know, I'll pick it up, rehab it. You know, they want like a $20,000 wholesale fee. Time I rehab it, get it sold, I might make $5,000 if I'm lucky. It's like, that makes no sense to me.
For the most part, my average sign fee for the past couple of years was $5,000, $7,000, maybe $6,000 on a good deal. It's slowly progressed. I've just been getting better at negotiating.
Yeah.
Cheaper discounts lately. And I've been doing a lot more targeted, motivated leads.
Mm-hmm. So what's this bigger deal you've got working?
Actually, one of the hottest square miles in Chattanooga. I locked it up on contract today and got earnest money. It was a 4-bedroom, 2-bath, 2,600 square foot, 1920s home in the hottest school district of Chattanooga. If you know about Chattanooga, 1/3 of kids here go to private school.
Mm.
The school systems are kind of bad. They're kind of rough. It's deep south.
Right.
So the private schools here can cost up to $30,000 a year. If you got 3 kids, that's $100,000 a year. So people are buying in the school district. The prices are just skyrocketing.
Mm.
So people are paying a lot more. It's a nice, really nice area. It's a great school district. It's right close to downtown. I was able to pick this deal up on house needs total rehab, maybe $100,000 in rehab. We got it to the studs and start over. I was able to pick it up for $150 cash, close in 30 days. I lined up a buyer at $200. It's set to close in the next 2 weeks.
Wow. So you're looking about $50K clear on it?
Yeah. The house is worth, I mean, that's a huge assignment fee.
Yeah.
Houses in that area have been selling up to $450,000, $500,000
Yeah.
for nice new construction stuff.
Yeah,
So,
well, there's nothing wrong with a high assignment fee. You know, definitely as long as the end investor net's making something on it, and there's definitely room on that. It's great.
he's excited.
I bet.
He owns a bunch of property up there. He's seen it all skyrocket.
Yeah.
He's well qualified to buy it. And he's partnered with an appraiser on it. I guess one of this appraiser's funding part of it for him.
Wow.
And the appraiser's like, I see 450 all day long. We're making 150 grand. I don't even care what you do.
Yeah, right. That's good. So he's aware of your fee and that, what you're going to do on it?
Yeah, I did the contract last night. He was supposed to bring me earnest money first thing this morning, so we did it at 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
I was stressing last night. I'm like, I should have done this in an IRA maybe. I'm like, that's a 10 grand tax hit.
Yeah.
I just didn't think it was possible. That's the highest assignment fee I've ever gotten. And we signed the contract, and this morning, after he called me to let me know he dropped off the earnest money at the title company, he said, well, what'd you get it for? I'm just curious. I don't really care what you're making. I said, honestly, I'm afraid to tell you. He's like, let me guess, like 150. I'm like, right. He's like, good for you, man. Because he asked me yesterday, he's like, have you made your first million yet? So he's a pretty good guy.
That's great. Yeah, so many people stress on that. So many, new wholesalers. Oh, how do I keep my buyer from knowing what I'm making on it? It's like a lot of times it's not a big deal as long as they're okay on it.
I was kind of stressing about that one. And
yeah.
I was relieved at 11 o'clock this morning. It was like, I didn't fall asleep last night until like 4 in the morning.
I bet. Doing your happy dance. Gonna make 50 grand.
Oh. I don't count it till it closes. So
exactly.
It's 2 weeks.
Yeah, I heard a saying a long time ago that really stuck with me regarding in real estate investing. And they said, in real estate investing, the money's coming, you just don't know when.
Exactly.
Because closings get delayed, or inspections get delayed, and you don't know until you get that check in hand.
I got one closing Monday for $3,000. It's a month and a half later.
Yeah.
I kind of forgot about it until the title company called me.
Those are nice. I went, what? I got a check? Cool.
Yeah.
So what you said you got some rentals too in that. How's that? How did that work out? Because you sound like you do quite a bit of wholesaling, but did you find those like you were intending on wholesaling? You end up keeping them, or how'd that kind of come about?
I've always treated wholesale like I started with no money, no money. I started in the deep recession, so I originally was starting wholesaling to generate capital. So we were trying to find a down payment for an apartment complex. I just kind of fell into a niche. But wholesaling allows me the option to make creative finance offers, stuff where I can't get it at quite wholesale price. They definitely don't want retail, so I can structure an owner financed offer and maybe keep it as a rental if the numbers work. If not, wrap it and sell it on short term or whatever I can negotiate.
So you're doing some of the deals that you wouldn't normally work for a wholesale type deal, but rather than just pass on them, you're saying, hey, let's get creative on it. Maybe I want to finance, I hold it. Maybe I turn around and sell it myself on a wrap or something like that, and still make money from it.
I mean, if there's a debt, I'm just trying to take it over subject to.
Yeah.
If it's free and clear, let's work out some terms. I just picked up a great one. It's going to cash flow $250 a month.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great because I know so many people that are they've been doing wholesaling even for 2 or 3 years, but it's kind of become like a one-track mind. It's like, well, if I can't wholesale it, I'm not interested in the deal. But it's like, well, wait a minute, because I do the same thing. It's like, well, what can I do with this deal? That, hey, there's not much equity in it, but I can still make money on it.
Yeah, I mean, you're almost doing the seller a disservice because they're caught in limbo. Most guys can't buy cash for a price at that term. It's not going to qualify for a mortgage.
Right.
So why not create a situation where you can both win?
Right. Yep. Diversity.
Especially if you get 0% interest or a low interest rate.
Yeah, definitely.
Why not?
Right. So about how many rentals do you have now?
Right now I got 15. Last year I had a partnership. We kind of dissolved and walked away from a bunch of them. But it's not hard to stack rentals if you work it that way.
Nice. So what are kind of your plans? What's the next 5 years look like? What are you still You kind of gonna keep it mixed up with the wholesaling and rentals? You go in different directions? You mentioned like apartment complexes, or what are you planning?
I'm trying to get into apartment complexes more commercial stuff that'll cash flow.
Uh-huh.
That leaves you the freedom. I mean, if you get a 50-unit apartment complex, you've got someone on staff
Yeah.
to handle your problems.
Yeah.
You still got to check on it, but get the cash flow freedom from that.
Right.
But it's a ways to a means. Like, for a while, my wholesaling business was just generating capital to keep up with the rentals I was keeping.
Right.
I finally took a pause in the past 6 months and got everything stabilized and in good shape where I can keep growing. If you don't, you'll get overwhelmed pretty quick.
Exactly. Yeah, so, I have a lot of people that'll ask me, well, I don't know, what should I do, wholesaling or should I hold rentals, or if I want to get into rentals, like they have to choose one or the other, and I tell them, man, you want to do both, because like I started out with a lot of rentals, and they're fine when they're doing fine, but all of a sudden it's like, oh, need a new roof, oh, need a new furnace or something. They want a whole month's or several months cash flow.
Yeah.
So it's, I tell people, it's like, look, if like, particularly if you start out in wholesaling, out of every 5, wholesale 3, keep 2, but keep that cash coming in from the wholesaling, because you probably need those for your rentals till you get them stabilized.
Yeah, like I'm finally trained my mindset. Oh, I need money. I need to buy something.
Mm-hmm. That's
it's a
good,
hard
yeah.
concept for people, but I got to go put something under contract. I got to generate income.
Yeah, it's a tough, I'd say, American mindset, because we're such a culture of, like right now, what do you see all over the media? It's tax return, use that as a down payment on a car, a new TV, a new stereo, it's spend. And when I started traveling to Asia, I picked up a lot of investors in Singapore and different places, and I'd go over there a lot, and it was really different. I'd meet like 25-year-old sales clerks at the Gap, that don't make anything, but they'd be like, oh yeah, well, I still live at home and I've been saving money since I was 14. I've got $25,000 to invest. I'd like to work with you on some deals. And I'm going, find me a retail sales clerk in the mall that's 25 in America that's got 25 grand saved up.
The problem is Americans, you got to get out of the rat race at some point.
Yeah.
To be able to stack the wealth.
Yeah.
And that's the number one hurdle people got to get past.
Yeah.
You just got to figure out what you need to passive income, or what you got to generate to stack wealth first.
Yeah, I really like what you said though about that whenever I get money, first thing I think of is I got to buy something with it, put some more property or something. I knew a guy that he was from New Jersey. He did a ton of apartment complexes and things like that, and he kind of made a game. He says, if I want to buy something, I buy another property to fund it from the cash flow. Like he was a connoisseur collector of fine wine, and he said, that's my wine house. The money from that buys me wine. That's my Mercedes house. The money from that pays my payments on my Mercedes. Like real life Monopoly.
I went car shopping, and I'm like, well, if I buy this duplex, you'll pay 4 times what the car payment is.
And you start thinking in terms of everything you look to buy, because like I said, I started out in rentals. I had a ton of rentals early on, and everything would be like I said, like go buy a car. After I was in the business maybe a year and a half, 2 years, I went and got a new BMW, and the first thing you're thinking of is, well, my tenants will pay for that. So hey, I think I'll buy another property and my tenants will make the payments on it. It's like, I used to tell people I would kind of channel the Russian comedian Yakov Smirnoff, I'd say, well, what a country, you buy property, let somebody else pay it off, and it's crazy.
As I said earlier, I got a Russian investor I work with.
Yeah, that's right.
And to them, the idea of personal property is amazing.
Yeah, I bet.
That you can secure deeds and stuff like that.
You actually own it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and actually, it's not as bad, like I mentioned Singapore, but I remember now they were doing that there too. They were like, they wanted to invest, because they'd see Robert Kiyosaki and Robert Allen would come over there, do seminars. They wanted to invest in America, so I ended up with a lot of money investors. And they were just like amazed at the concept that now we'll actually own the house. We own the land and everything. It's like, yeah. And, I didn't know at the time. Then I found out it's like, well, they don't really, more or less like they own their property there, but the land is like government owned or something like that. I don't know. It's just, they were just like so enthralled. They didn't care what it was. I want to buy something just to own property.
You kind of own it. Don't pay your taxes for 3 years.
Yeah, kind of.
So you still own.
You're as close to ownership as you can get, I'll say.
Basically.
Great. So tell, what are some things that kind of, kept you going? Because, well, let me back up and ask this. How long when you first started like getting into the real estate and decided, hey, I want to do real estate investing, how long did it take you to get that first deal?
A little, well, I flipped a couple of houses just by stroke of luck in Florida. Mm-hmm. Really just stuff I had bought to live in, made money on, economy crashed, lost money.
Right.
And I knew at a young age I'd seen it was a ways to a means.
Right.
At the time I was making maybe $30,000-$40,000 a year in Florida. I made $80,000 in a year and a half of owning a property.
Nice, yeah.
That money quickly dissipated in another real estate transaction.
Oh, wow.
I had the faith. I was like, I know this can happen.
Right, yeah.
So I was just more perseverance of, I don't want to live like other people. I don't want to be in this rat race.
Uh-huh.
I've always kind of been a punk rock kid, and I knew it's a lot easier to master the game than trying to fight it.
Exactly.
So
about how long did it take you when you actually decided to pursue it as an investment?
Really about 2 years.
2 years.
I'd say mildly successful,
mm-hmm.
To where I was comfortable and I wasn't freaking out every year.
Getting that first deal that everybody's having so much trouble with. How long did it take you to get that first deal? Aside from the houses that you bought to live in and that.
We had really maybe 3 months.
3 months.
I'd moved up here. I basically got a BS job at this tool rental store just to make my truck payment. Everything else I was confident I could make. My mortgage payment on the house that we took over was like $300 or $100 a month. It was cheap.
Wow.
So I just needed I needed like $400 a week minimum.
Uh-huh.
And I'd go to work every day and come home and I'd work on my real estate business. And I remember we cleared a couple small deals, and finally I just got fed up at work one day. Just a bad day. I'm like,
oh,
you're making me lose money at this point.
Right.
I walked away.
Nice.
And I've never looked back.
Wow. Yeah, so many people struggle with that first deal, and I even saw a post up today. Somebody was asking about, I'm struggling with, should I quit my job and go full time now? We've done a few deals, or it's such a tipping point for so many people to take that big leap.
It just depends what your scale of risk is. I wouldn't recommend it unless you got some money, a little bit of money in the bank to where you're comfortable. Because you might not get another deal for a couple months, depending on how competitive your market is.
Well, especially when it's people who they haven't done a deal yet, and they're asking the question, should I quit my job and pursue it full time? It's like, you haven't even done a deal yet. You need to wait.
Yeah. If you haven't done at least 2 or 3 deals and stack some money and you're comfortable,
right?
I wouldn't quit your day job yet. It's a tough market. I see guys come in as hobbyists and fade out in 2 months all the time.
Yeah. So what kept you motivated, kept you going, particularly on those first couple of deals to keep with it and stick with it?
Just perseverance. I knew it was ways to a means. Just from marketing, I'd meet buyers. It was really like an inspiration to me.
Right.
I'd meet all these old-time landlords that had 40, 50 properties, free and clear, never worried. And they weren't snotty, they were just real people.
Yeah.
And it gave me hope every time I meet one. Like, I'd see these guys making $100,000 checks. A couple weeks ago, or back in February, I was sitting in St. Martin with a friend on Mr. Landlord Cruise.
Mm-hmm. Gets
a $100,000 wire. It pisses me off and motivates me. I'm like, why? Why can't I be this guy?
Yeah.
And It'll happen. You just got to keep persevering.
Yeah, well, he was saying that several years ago too. Why can't I be that guy? So a lot of people forget, even like with yours, they look at you and see you posting checks. Hey, everybody started somewhere. Somebody at some point, we didn't know anything about real estate and had that first deal that we didn't get sleep over, and we were scared, and had to stick with it.
I still get those deals. It's just a different level. I'm a little more comfortable in my finances now.
Yeah. Definitely, I bet when you started getting rentals too, because I know, wholesaling is good, but you're only as good as your next deal, and you don't know when you're getting paid again. And if you're not working, you're not getting paid. But when you start buying the rentals, you start having that cash flow come in a little bit.
The rentals just add a comfort level. I mean, there's still the risk of my tenants not paying. I've kind of strategized to where that's not a big risk. I do a lot of Section 8 and screening my tenants to where they're overqualified on my properties.
Yeah.
So that doesn't keep me up at night. When I first started, that used to keep me up a lot.
Yeah, because when you first start, you maybe have 1, 2, 3, 4 properties, and if if you're 20% vacant, it's a big chunk. Your cash flow is gone that month, and I'll have people ask me, said, well, what do I do? I'm afraid, what if the tenants don't pay now? I say, buy more property. You start getting up, 30, 40, 50 properties. You're not going to have half your tenants just suddenly leave and not pay rent. There might be a few here and there, but there's a lot more safety in there because you got a lot of multiple income coming in.
Yeah, you got a lot more leverage. Yeah. Leverage on your risk to where you can pay it.
Yeah.
I mean, life has a harsh learning curve. I see landlords all the time that make poor decisions. They don't screen their tenants. They don't. I met a guy the other day. Didn't even have a lease. Didn't have rental application. Nothing.
Gosh.
I was trying to buy the property from him.
Yeah. And wonder why he's selling. Oh, now I know.
Yeah. Why? How?
Yeah,
there's so many free resources out there nowadays.
Yeah.
Especially for rental properties.
Yeah, that brings up a good point. I want to throw in real quick is a lot of people, because I did it too, and I'm sure you did too. When you're looking at buying a property, you're going, well, if this is a good deal and it's cash flowing, why on earth are they selling it? And like in that situation, most of the time I find out it's the people, it's the owner, it's mismanagement, something going on. And I would end up buying it and never had any problem with it. I just went into it with my approach and my leases, and everything was fine. So it's kind of a big lesson that a lot of people, I guess you have to learn the hard way or in the streets, let's say, where it's like, you can't always judge that if it's not a bad deal. People get so scared of that. Well, I'm afraid to buy that because if it's cash flowing, why is he selling it? Why is he selling it? What if I get in it and there's something wrong? He's not telling me. It's a lot of times it's the owner that's messing up.
Yes.
Yeah.
It happens all the time. I see it. Just poor management, and they're so quick to blame the tenants. Their problem. They create it.
Right. Yeah. If you're having trouble with your tenants, you put them in there. Remember that.
It's your choice.
That was your choice. That's great. So what would you say to people watching, especially like, people that are kind of new to the business, looking to get into it? Any advice you'd give them on, like, what are some things that have worked great for you, or what would you tell people?
Take in as much information as you can. Don't be afraid to actually put something under contract. Mm-hmm. I meet so many people that they call it analysis paralysis. They're so scared to do the deal, saying, what if? Right. Solve the problems when they get there.
Right.
And save your money and reinvest in your marketing.
Great.
Too many people I know go out and buy fancy watches and spoil themselves, and then they're wondering, where am I going to get the capital for my next deal?
Right.
They're out of business in 2 months.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Great.
Always be educating yourself. Because I've done hundreds of deals, and I'm still learning stuff every day.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah. So what's the rest of your day like? You got meetings? You got checks to pick up?
I got to go meet a couple investors and look at a 44-unit mismanaged apartment complex.
Cool.
Trying to get in my first apartment deal.
Nice. Well, best of luck with it. And thanks for being with us. Really appreciate you sharing with us and being on the show.
Not a problem, man. Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks a lot, Thomas. We'll talk to you soon. Well, I hope you found that information useful. And if this is your first time here, I'd love it if you subscribe to our channel by clicking on the button down below. Every week I'm going to be bringing you lots of information, starting on Tuesday with Success Tips, where I bring you strategies and ideas to help you get started in this business or to take it to the next level. On Wednesdays is Success Stories, where I share with you real-life experiences that I've had in my business. And on Thursdays, it's Viewer Q&A, where I answer your questions that you send in. Now, twice a month, we're going to be interviewing real-life real estate investors who are out there making a killing in this game. Be sure and click down below and get the free ebook, and check out our website for lots more information and free goodies.